Okay, this is the second video that covers the student functionality for ItsMySchool. What I'm going to cover in this next video is the learning activities, the search tools, the announcements, and the communication. The two most powerful features that I developed that essentially got the students all excited, as well as myself, the assignments and tool components I will cover last. Okay, this provides a screen capture of the learning activity. When selecting this, there would just be a simple message saying choose something from the left navigation bar. Now usually what students would do is they would immediately click on the presentations tab, because as I mentioned in a previous video, I go left to right, top down, and students got very used to that, and it was consistent. They also knew that the topics were organized that way for every course. The instructors have full freedom on what they wanted to provide, but the actual layout was always the same, and that made it very, very easy for everyone to get around on the site. So let's see, the next slide shows if they clicked on a session. So in this particular case, the user clicked on session 6. It then gave more information about the different tabs, and then they would go on from there. Now most students would only look at this maybe once or twice at the beginning of the semester, and after that they knew what to do. So the next tab was the presentations tab, and for my courses we had overhead viewers in every lab and every lecture, so I produced some very nice PowerPoints, that slideshows that were broken out into a combination of slides and then links to solution items that then I could cover in application and review code and step through code and whatever I needed to do. But this is very nice because this is all database driven. You can see that in green the user had chosen session 8 when creating the course material for the course. You were given the very simple user interface that when you wanted to upload content, you'd say, okay, I want to upload a presentation. So you'd click that, you'd click the session that you wanted to upload your presentations to, and you'd upload them, name them, provide a description, and then the hyperlink would automatically be generated. And they were very secure, and obfuscation applied to everything, so no one could figure out where the files and things were stored, and this is a very, very secure site. I challenged my students, and some of my smarter students tried to hack the site without success. And I thought that was funny. I did spend a fair chunk of time on the security. Before I built and wrote the application, I worked with a couple of other online education systems, and it was not difficult to figure out ways around their security, and then get course material for any course that you wanted. But I wanted to ensure on my site that that was completely impossible to do, and so I had a lot of security features built in to prevent it. At any rate, so you can see the presentation section here, and quite easy for both the instructor and easy for the student to get the information as well. Now, besides the presentation, all courses have materials. One of the things that for me, from the time I was actually young, and computers were becoming more popular, they were saying how computers were going to save the world, that we weren't going to have paper and all that kind of good stuff, and it was always to me a little bit frustrating because I never saw that really happen. But what I did with my course site is, rather than print out class materials for the students in the beginning, is part of the functionality on the site. Again, same thing, full management, similar to what I described in the last slide, So it's extremely easy to do, but all my course materials were available online. And because the system was so reliable, students were very confident that anytime they needed something, they could just download it at any time to their computer, laptop, and not that many students ever even printed out the material. They just viewed it electronically. So I was really excited by that. Okay, this next slide shows the class notes. What I used the class notes was I prepared just a brief task list essentially for my students that spelled out for them what I thought if they followed these particular steps in preparation for the class that they would be prepared to discuss the material that was there. And this is nice because they could get it at any time. If students weren't prepared for class and were asking questions that were unfortunate and taking up everyone's time, valuable time, what I did is because you can see the search tools tab, I would go to the search tools and say, well, let's see what we can find on the site, see if the site can answer your question. And I knew darn well that when I entered in certain queries, it would pull up the class notes, and then it was really apparent that the student just wasn't prepared. And so it was a nice way where you got the point across without pointing fingers, but it clearly showed that the site would give them all the information they needed to get those types of questions answered. And what students learned over time was that they could get their information right there on the site, and they didn't have to interrupt the class or anyone else, and they had the ability and capability to research that on their own. So that was very advantageous for everyone in the class. And the last tab for the learning activities shows the bookmarks, and the bookmarks were extremely valuable. When I was going out and researching things related to topics that I was covering, I would very often go online and look around and see what I could find that I knew would help my students. And so I would upload these. Essentially all that they were was just hyperlinks, but obviously I could upload them based on sessions, so I didn't have to hunt and peck to find these things. They are also fully searchable. So if you're wondering, well, geez, I know I had a link here to a great cascading style sheet. As an instructor, you didn't want to be fiddling around clicking on different sessions. I just went to search tools and typed in style or style sheets or cascading or whatever I could remember, and it instantly pulled me to this. So the bottom line is very effective, and my students liked it because they could get additional information, and I love to do research on new technologies, and it gave a nice depository for all that, at least as related to my courses. Now something that I really liked and that I had some fun with was the search tool capability. And you can see there's checkboxes that allowed you to categorically search when looking for different information on the site, and that way you wouldn't get inundated with things that didn't apply, and you could focus on just what you wanted to. So it was very advantageous for that. There's also a simple filter that was built in where you could do an AND or an OR of the data that you submitted. In this next screen it showed that I wanted to do a search on just assignments, and I entered project 5, and so this is also for the Cord ASP.NET. You can see that that's highlighted in the top bar. And then on the next slide, something that I thought was kind of cool, at least, is that when searching for an assignment, it would actually pull back content directly related to it. So it wasn't just a link, but it actually pulled back detailed information about the assignment that I knew that students would be interested in. And then a link, you can see there's a link there under name for project 5, and then when clicking on that, that would take you to the exact spot in the course where that assignment was actually covered. And you'll see a lot more on assignments later, but I had this tied into all the different pieces. So if you chose by discussion forum, it would rebuild essentially the discussion forum right there in the search window, And so it wasn't just links, it was actually as if you're viewing the forum itself, and I know my students liked it. I liked it as well. Okay, I have a number of slides available on this, but it's pretty self-explanatory. It was a calendar-based announcement system. Students had the ability to view any announcements by clicking on a calendar date. It was color-coded the same as all the other information on the site, and so I won't review that. But students had the ability by course to upload events, to edit any events that they uploaded, and to delete any events that they uploaded. And then I, as the course instructor, had the same abilities, plus I had the ability to manage anything that students had put up as well. Okay, finally we're going to finish up this video on communication. This is actually, I've thoroughly enjoyed this piece. I have to admit I did this more for myself. This is a feature that I enjoyed. As an instructor, your faculty account just gets inundated with all sorts of emails, and the things that I hated was that when my students were trying to contact me, I'd get emails from people, and their aliases for their emails were things that just didn't match up with their name, like Hot Rod 67 or something like that, and that was some student in some course, and I had no idea who they were, and they were sending me emails and needing help or some other information. I just didn't like that, because I wanted to be able to help my students, and obviously that system did not work well. There's also spam and things that get kicked over into spam, and just a nightmare. So I wrote my own version of an email communication package that was broken out by course, and so I basically just informed my students it would be the only way I would communicate via email to them was in this fashion, and so we were able to privately communicate on the site. It had all the key features of any email package. They could create the email, assign recipients, manage their emails. In other words, they could go in and delete them and move things around, and then they had the ability to send their email, or view the emails that had been sent. Okay, I'm going to show a couple of just key screen captures to finish this up. Here's the screen that shows how they would create their email. This next one would student address book. It was chiclet based, and it made it very easy to go and select any recipients, deselect them, and so on. And let's see, you had the ability to view the emails in your inbox and so on. The nice thing is that this gave you the ability to look at emails that had come in that day, yesterday, the whole week, this month, and so on. So it was a very handy system. I used it, and it provided a nice means to communicate with my students when they wanted to use that method. Okay, that wraps up this video. The last video will cover the assignment and tools sections, which were the two most feature-rich and exciting parts for the student functionality.